Hey there, this is Ryan Nickel, and this is another episode of A Day in the Life of a Real Estate Investor, and this is episode number 17. All right, so negotiations are definitely a part of a daily life of a real estate investor. Currently, I have 2 properties under contract that we need to go back and negotiate on, and so I'll tell you about the first house. So the first house is just a small little 2-bedroom house, and it was inherited by this lady. It was her father's house. She inherited the property. And it has not been updated since the 60s. I mean, it has the old fuse, like you can screw them in, the old fuse electrical box. I mean, that's how old it is. And it's a wood roof with no insulation whatsoever. And it's just a flat roof as well with a small little pitch. So anyway, going into it, and it's on a septic as well. And no one's lived there for about 3 years. So anyway. And to take that back, someone lived there as a rental property, but they didn't do any laundry or anything like that. That was our concern, is what kind of condition the septic is in. They just lived there basically to sleep there as a family member. So went out there, did our inspections on the property, came back that there's quite a bit of dry rot on this property, a lot more substantial than we thought. And the dry rot it's gone from the roof into the eaves of the house, and so it's we had budgeted about $5,000 in repairs just off the cuff on that. The septic came back that it was a clear septic, just needed to be pumped, and we'd be fine with that. So that was a good thing. But on the eaves, it's actually going to be about $11,000 worth of work that we're going to have to do because again, it's an open ceiling, so open plan. It's really nice the way it flows for the property. But unfortunately, you can't just cut the piece out and put it like plywood up there or something like that. You got to match like for like, and it's an old cedar home, so it's a cedar roof. It's really nice the way that it's been done. So anyway, it just it is what it is. And so we went back to the seller and we said, hey, look, you know what? It's going to cost us $11,000 to do this amount of work for what we have to do with it. We're not asking for a dollar for dollar price reduction. We're not even going to ask you for half. We're interested in maybe a $5,000 price reduction. When she came back and she said, no, I can't do that, but I can do $3,000. It's in her name and her sister's name. She's like, I can do that, but it's in my sister's name. It's actually only in her name, but she wants to do right by her sister as well, who's failing in health. And she said, look, I can do $3,000. I know for a fact, but not $5,000 without having to go to my sister. So we wanted, we were okay with $4,000, and we actually settled on $4,000. But she came back to us and she says, hey, you know what? If you guys can close it this week, we'll do this at $4,000. And so, not a problem. We have the money, we have the funds, and for us, $4,000 was a reasonable request for considering the work that was done. And she knew that it needed work. She just didn't know to the extent. So anyway, got a price reduction on that one. Not, it wasn't too difficult. She's very amenable. She's a pleasure to work with. Now here we come to seller number 2. All right, so I learned something on this one. I learned something from my partner on this one. So now this is the guy that I did everything. I tied this one up all through. You know what? I just learned a valuable lesson just in talking this one through. So this particular one, I've never met the seller. The first one, I know the seller. We've touched base. We've been out to the house. We've met each other. We've talked long hours. Nothing like we've talked long hours into the night or anything like that. But we've talked quite a bit because this was a house that I had that I followed up on and we got it back again. So I definitely have spent some time with this seller. Know some personal issues about her and things like that she's working through. But anyway, fast forward now to this. I'll keep it clean here. This guy. So we were texting back and forth. Everything's done through text, or I've talked to him on the phone a few times. Never have met with him. I've asked to meet with him. Funniest thing is, I'm like, hey man, let me come in and get the contract signed. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do the contract. Drop the contract off of the title company, and I'll come sign it at the title company. Like he wouldn't meet with me for like whatever reason. I don't get this whole thing. So anyway, it makes a whole lot of sense now that I think about it. So through text messaging, all of this stuff, and we set up. He wasn't going to meet us at the property. He's like, nah, it's the duplex. These guys will be out there. One of the tenants will be out there. He'll show you around the property, all this stuff. I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. So we get out there. We look at the property, and this guy was real hard on his price too. And see, this particular deal, it was really, really skinny for us to buy it this way. And we were willing to buy it just because it was kind of a long-term appreciation, and we kind of had some extra funds that we needed to place rather quickly. And so this was kind of one that just, it didn't make sense, but it did make sense. So anyway, we get into the property, and there's some dry rot in one of the bathrooms. And I don't know this. We don't know how substantial it is until we actually tear the property up, the flooring up. But there is enough of a dry rot to give us concern. We just don't know if it's around the toilet and the front of the tub, or if it goes completely under the tub all around, and we have to drop that bathroom down, that floor out to replace it. So don't know there. But also there's a roof issue too. The roof probably has maybe about 2, possibly 3 years left of life. No more than 3 for sure. No more than 3. It was a cheap roof when you put it on in the first place. And there's some other issues there too. I mean, the tenants, they don't get along. There's one laundry room that they share. There's a garage that only one of them has access to. There's debris all over the property, and the guy, there's a pot smoker that grows there. He has his cameras all up there and everywhere. And so it's not a real desirable property. It's a 1-bedroom, 1-bath duplex. Oh, excuse me. So anyway, so here's the question. So we go back to him and say, hey, you know what? There's about $8,500 in repairs that we were not accounting for, because the whole time he's like, oh, it's a brand new property. It's brand new roof. He tells all these things that weren't the case. And so we get out there, and I mean, we had justified for about adjusted for about $3,000 to $4,000 in repairs, just because, based on the thing, maybe even $5,000. But we got there, and clearly it's about $8,500 in dry rot, different things, the eaves, some of one of the posts on the porch and things like that. So anyway, there's some serious issues with this. For us, because we're going to cash flow this negative anyway, $50 a month, so $600 a year. For the first year, we were going to go negative on it. So, it just, it didn't make sense for us to eat this cost as well. So we went back to the guy and said, hey, you know what? This is what we found. And where are we at as far as flexibility on price here? Because it's not going to work that we're going to buy this property in as-is condition when we're paying full market price, by the way. We're buying this at $142. Full market price probably is about $145. I mean, to be honest, that's probably right where we're at. And so he came back, he goes, there is not one penny for you guys here. There's no budge. There's no room to budge on this price whatsoever. I'm not coming down a cent. It's as is. You buy it as is. And so I was like, well, shoot. That's not going to work for us. I can tell you this. I said, and I go, the roof has and I said, the roof has 1 or 2 years left of life on it. He goes, no, it's 2 to 3 years left of life. I'm like, okay. 1 to 2 or 2 to 3, what's the difference? It's the same thing on the roof. And then he came back and he said this. He goes, look, man, it's a small property. I can get up there for $2,200. I can just material costs. I can get up there and in a week and have that roof done. It's the first layer. You can just throw another layer of roof on it and it's done. And this is where I learned something from my partner. And because this guy's MO is kind of to be like a bully. He shut me down 3 or 4 times before, where he'll just like throw out all these, like, according to him, what these facts are. Like, fact, deal with it, bye. I'm like, okay. And then another time he was like, fact, deal with it, bye. And he wouldn't let me rebuttal at all. He just wants to throw this out there. So I'm pretty confident that he owns a local restaurant in town. I'm pretty confident that's how he runs with his employees as well, is he just wants to bulldoze over them and just say, you know what, get this stuff done, fact. And again, these aren't really facts. These are like opinions and stuff like that. So when my partner said, he came back and said, you know what, Ryan, what you should have done, instead of asking, because we were going to go for a $5,000 price reduction, but we would have settled for 3. He would have been fine with 3. We got this property at instead of 142, 139. And this is what he said to me, which I learned this lesson about negotiation. He says, fine, you know what, if you're trying to get the guy to come down one way, but he's telling you no, it's not going to be that much. He says, then flip it and take it the other way. Case in point, he says, when the guy goes, no, I'm not going to give you a $5,000 price reduction on the roof, because the roof really only is, it's going to cost me $2,200 to fix. Go, great. I'm going to send you over an addendum for the purchase price. We're going to increase it $2,200, and we'll have you go ahead and purchase it. We'll have you fix the roof prior to funding on it. I'm like, oh, how come I didn't think about that? Brilliant move, but unfortunately we never had that conversation, because he won't return my phone calls or my texts now. And so we're just going to go ahead and cancel this one out of escrow. We're still within our right and our inspection periods, but the guy's just being a jerk, total jerk all the way around. We don't need this property. We have plenty of properties that we have bought this last month and are currently moving forward on. And then when I say we, I'm not personally buying these properties. He's a partner of mine. He's the one that's funding them all. I go out and I find them and I wholesale them to him. But I'm doing all the legwork because that's how I earn my commission. So Strike that from the record. There's no commissions being earned here. That's how I earn my fee for assignment. So, my assignment fees on these ones. But anyway, that's just how it's going. So yeah, canceling out of that one just not going to work. And yeah, so the two lessons that I learned on it was, okay, if I can't get the guy to come off his price and he's telling me that it's going to cost, it should only cost X amount of dollars, flip it, increase the price, have him do it, and make a purchase contingent upon us purchasing it. Have him do those repairs. And here's the thing, I mean, this property is at retail. So if you were to list it with a real estate agent, someone's going to go in, run their inspections, come back and go, oh, you know what, there's some dry rot, there's some roofing issues. We want price reductions. It's not unreasonable what we're asking. The guy's being actually completely unreasonable. He's being an ass about it. So don't need him, don't need the property, and that's it. In fact, we were actually we were going to do owner finance on this deal, but we decided to give him full asking price, knowing that we were overpaying for it because he had originally talked about using some of the money that he was going to get out of it to fund some of our other projects as some private money. I don't want that relationship either, just the way that things have gone on this one. So anyway, it's a complete, we're going to completely wash our hands of it. The other thing I learned is, man, you know what? Looking at this relationship, because it was a relationship all through text and phone numbers, there was no personal relationship with the person, flesh to flesh, meeting the guy, getting some rapport that way, the human interaction. I think that's probably another reason why we weren't able to get into these concessions. Whereas before, I had concessions, we talked about it, what we wanted to do, and it was, a very amicable friendship and relationship. Not that this was one like it was hostile or anything like that, because it wasn't hostile. But anyway, those are the two things I learned. Face-to-face is always been the best for me as far as being able to negotiate and get the price and terms that we want. And then, of course, if the guy or the person, the gal, isn't working the way that we need them to do, just flip them the other way. So anyway, that is Ryan Nickel. That's the day in the life of a real estate investor, and those are real life conversations that we had today. And so whether you're negotiating, hopefully you can pick up a tip or two, but that's what we're doing. So if you're listening to this, we'll talk to you later.